the Tea Lovers team. And first of all, we would like to say huge thanks to CoinParty hackathon organizers, and mainly Bitcoin Unlimited and all others who did a great job organizing this project, because we had absolutely stunning week hacking with our project. And now I would like to describe it a little bit. We are huge fans of on-chain social media, and we think that this concept has the potential to decentralize the web completely and bring more honest and censorship-free platforms to the world. And this is very important, and the recent events show us that. And obviously, Memo protocol pioneered this idea of putting structured transactions on the blockchain, so that we can have the whole state of the network parsed independently by anybody, and that way we can have many independent mirrors to such network. And memo.cash is one such mirror, and we have member.cash. Those two are the most popular ones, and to my knowledge probably the only ones that exist to this day. But the drawback of this protocol is that we don't have the ability to post rich media such as pictures or blog posts and etc. And this is not a trivial task to solve, because we cannot say that blockchains are capable of storing huge amounts of data, at least today. And we propose the idea where we fuse the blockchain with BitTorrent network in a form of WebTorrent, and I will speak about that in a minute. And that will allow us to create a kind of upper layer on top of Memo protocol and on top of blockchain that will allow us to store potentially huge amounts of data. We start with small steps, and we would like to demonstrate this idea with a very little project, and this is basically an MVP. And to do this, I would like to show you the chips topic that's created on Memo. You can see it on member.cash as well. There are currently 2 transactions, one initial one and one additional. And it looks like an ordinary post with a little bit of well elaborate. And the cool thing is that this is just because memo.cash and member.cash and memo.cash are not yet capable of parsing the data that we store on BitTorrent network. And what's interesting is that if we look on the blockchain explorer and on the operator script, it's not just a plain memo action. We see that this is the action identifier, this is the topic identifier, and this is the text payload. But we have a little more here, and actually this is the BitTorrent network hash, and this is we call it the network identifier, because we believe that it's not a good idea to tie this protocol to any one file sharing network, because there are alternatives such as IPFS, and maybe some will emerge in the future. But today we believe that BitTorrent is the most robust solution that we can use. Basically, it's something that existed for 2 decades, and it's battle tested. And the cool thing is that BitTorrent is implemented for web using the web RTC transport protocol, and that allows us to leverage the power of end users who use web browsers to participate in this network and participate in seeding. And the cool thing about this is that if we leverage users to seed content, and we go away from the model where every content is guaranteed to be stored by centralized network providers, such as what we have with Instagram and Facebook and basically all other networks, where if you post a picture, it's guaranteed to be stored there, and then the platform needs to moderate it and decide whether the platform wants it to store. And here we have a different solution, because once user commits to storing this picture, maybe by liking it or maybe by participating in discussion, this is something to be decided a little bit later, but let's focus on the idea that if you like a piece of content, then you commit to store it for some time. Then we end up in a situation where even not very popular posts on Memo network that generate few dozens of likes may store this piece of content for quite long period of time. It's not guaranteed to be stored there forever, but it's also possible that it will be stored there forever, because for as long as someone stores the content, it could be retrieved in the future. And our MVP is very simple. We call it Chipotle, because we're designing it as the memo protocol based registry for chips, and chips are analogous to BIPs or BIPs from the early days of Bitcoin, and somehow Bitcoin.cash community don't have the mechanism to share ideas about protocol evolution to this day, and chips are something that's discussed nowadays in the community on Bitcoin.cash research framework. Now this first chip was formulated by Tom Zander, and by the idea using ideas from Griffin. And if you look at this screen, then we can see that this transaction is actually just the same transaction, but we have parsed the content. Oops. Yeah, here it is. It's not pretty cool right now, but we hope it will be soon. So this is the markdown that was parsed from the BitTorrent network, and that way we can use Memo and BitTorrent to provide storage layer for everybody to use, and that can let the community go away from using centralized platforms such as Imgur or anything else where we need more than just a couple hundred of bytes to share ideas. And this whole thing, the web was implemented using Svelte framework, and backend is based on BlockPress source code. Mainly we utilize the blockchain parser, which is the Ruby on Rails project, and we have pretty simple API that gives us posts, and we can reconstruct replies. This example is pretty simple, but soon we will be able to update it to be a fully featuring Memo protocol implementation capable of storing rich media. And I very hope that Jason from memo.cash and Free Trade from member.cash will be passionate about this protocol and will be super happy to participate in implementing it on those platforms, because it's actually pretty simple, but we think it may transform the social media as we know it, using the power of Bitcoin Cash and on-chain social media. And the final bit is that we think this idea is quite good, because we use blockchain in a very efficient way. Basically, to this day, it's 160 bits to put the info hash on operator and few more extra bits. And I believe that one day probably we'll be able to move the whole protocol to the hash-based system, or maybe things will turn on the opposite side, and we'll utilize blockchain to fully store the media. But today we don't know how blockchain will be able to scale in say 50 years, and it's a reasonable idea to just store hashes now. So thank you. We had a stunning week, and this was very interesting hackathon, and we're looking forward to continue our work on this project. Thank you.